All right, we are here today with Dr. Galsky, the Vice President for Student Affairs at Bradley University. Dr. Galsky, thank you for doing this interview with us.
Pleased to do it.
All right, a couple questions for you. First, we're wondering, how do you feel about the legalization of marijuana in Illinois as a controlled substance?
That's a really interesting question. Certainly there's precedent for that in other states that just went through an election right now. I think in some ways it would be easier in terms of enforcement and certainly in terms of equal enforcement if it were legalized.
All right, if the Illinois bill passes, what federal and local challenges would be faced?
Well, that's the key question right now going on, I know, in Colorado and Washington and other areas. The federal law, it's a violation of federal law to use these drugs, and yet certain states have approved them. If Illinois approves it, you know, is it states' rights or is it the federal government? So that's a difficult question to answer. My take on it, based on what I've seen so far, is that where possible in these states, and that would include Illinois if it passed, the federal government would probably look the other way unless the use was so egregious or some other manner. That's what I think they're going to do. Otherwise, they're going to have a states' rights, federal right thing, and I don't think they want to get into that.
All right. It has been said that there are many legitimate and healthy medical uses for cannabis. I'm wondering what your view is on the issue of cannabis as a therapeutic medicine in the U.S.
You know, there is conflicting evidence as to whether or not there's scientific validity in its use to reduce pain, but there's no doubt that in many patients it actually works very well in reducing pain. And so if you, from just a humane compassion situation as well as a medical situation, if in those cases and in those patients the use of these drugs results in reduced pain and more comfort and a better quality of life, I think that makes all the sense to go ahead and do it.
There's some debate as to whether or not synthetic versions of marijuana can be used as well. Do you have any insight on the synthetic uses as well?
No, but I know, I'm absolutely sure what will happen if there is, because a lot of these synthetic things are market driven. So what will probably happen is if enough laws are passed to legalize medical marijuana so that the market use of it is large enough, then many companies will get involved in producing these synthetic derivatives, and they'll have enough money to do it, and they'll have enough money to run these clinical trials. And even if the ones available today aren't very good, it would be my guess that that's what will happen.
All right. Do you have any personal experience of the effects of prohibition and the war on drugs at Bradley?
Well, when you say effects of prohibition, you're talking about alcohol? You're talking about
in regards to cannabis, marijuana, just in their use at Bradley.
Any over the years that I've been here. Certainly over the years I've had this position, we have had a fairly constant number of cases every semester, every year. They may vary from, you know, it could be as much as one a week, where we get a police report on a marijuana possession, and it hasn't changed much in that capacity. What we don't have quite as much as we used to have, we don't have very much in the way of other things other than use. We don't have once in a while we have some things involved with growing, once in a while we have things involved with actually selling it, but that's not a very rare situation. And the other interesting thing is, and this probably won't surprise anybody, because it's very true with alcohol too, and that is that most of the time when you find a student, particularly a freshman, who we find has been using marijuana, they used it before they got to Bradley. It's not, for most of these students, it's not a new habit, just like for most students who, violate the 21-year drinking age, particularly as a freshman. They've done that in high school. So, it's interesting. In both the marijuana cases and in the alcohol cases, the university really inherits the problem. That doesn't, for most students, it really doesn't start here.
All right. Do you have an idea on the rough number of cases per week, per semester?
And marijuana?
Yes.
I would say certainly, I think one a week would probably be. It would be rare that a week would go by that I would not see a police report or citation or certainly every other week that someone is using marijuana.
All right.
The same person.
How do you see the legalization of medical marijuana affecting Bradley students?
Well, it depends. And if the legalization of medical marijuana results in the fact, and I believe it will, that you will need a prescription or a doctor's note in order to use it. You can't just say I'm using it for medical purposes, without some medical verification. I think my own opinion is that we would try to accommodate that as best we could.
All right. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I just think it's a very interesting and very relevant, particularly with what's going on in Illinois, what went on in Washington State and in Colorado, and I believe it's going on in either Maryland or Virginia right now. It's a very interesting and very topical subject. So, good job, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Galsky.